it's sort of turning the sea art on its head. So where in town you have all your very colourful, oversaturated postcards, this was all about the sort of darker thing, the shadows, the shipwrecks, the myths and the stories and the storms and everything else that goes on, probably more of the time than the sun is out. So the Cruel and Curious Sea theme was kind of put to the ice, but I knew each of the artists would do their very subjective take on it. So I kind of handpicked all the artists who'd be involved, because each of them had a slightly different way of doing things. I saw their art and I knew what they'd turn it into themselves would be interesting.
The sea is such a broad theme. It's more of the aspect that it's not the traditional take on the seascape that you might expect to see in Cornwall. And yeah, I mean, I suppose the antithesis of idyllic seascape is something that's a bit cruel and makes you a bit more curious as to what else can be said about the landscape around here.
It gave me license to do anything I wanted, and that maybe there'd be a different sort of audience looking at it anyway that would have a better appreciation for it. And the fact that there was all artists working on a similar theme, wild coast, especially on this coast because it's so rugged.
Yeah, it's just exactly, it's an exaggeration. What I like about around here is that in Britain it's one of the most wild landscapes you'll find if you go down by the seaside. If you go down to the coast here and you can look either way, it's very raw and broken up and everything. And I like that, and you can kind of just take that a little bit further in your mind to just complete, kind of marine chaos.
Working on some pieces for the Cruel and Curious has allowed me to be much more playful and not worry about how it's going to come out, to be a bit looser, a bit rougher with it, working on a bigger scale.
Okay, so where we are at the moment, a place called Stow Barton. It's in North Cornwall, it's a National Trust property. So what we've got here is a farm dating back a few hundred years, but the buildings we're using tonight, 1950s, fell out of use, and we've really struggled to find a decent use for them since then. And when Kai from Hickory Nines approached us to run an art event, we said, why not? It's the perfect use. You've got contemporary art, traditional buildings, beautiful space, right on the Atlantic coast. What's not to like?
We kind of looked at it and thought, well, we can use this room, we can use this room, and back then it was kind of, there were more storerooms and it was hard to visualise it. But once we cleared everything out and we started moving stuff around, we put electric through them, and at that point we knew it was all coming together and it was going to work.
Husband's a fisherman, and so I've seen a lot of the dark side of the sea, being out on the boat with him, speaking to the fishermen. It's not all plain sailing. The sea can be quite rough. It can be very dangerous. A lot of the scene that's been set here has come from my husband's fishing boat. He's a lobster fisherman. So all the lobster parts and some of the netting, with the help of Kai and the National Trust team, I sort of set out and really wanted to create that dark, eerie atmosphere, which I think people really enjoy, that it's something quite different, quite quirky, especially in the settings that it's in.
And we were all brought up to go to art exhibitions and weird theatre and stuff in the depths of North Cornwall, and so to see that carrying on for generations of kids that have come here this evening is just so good, and I really believe in it, and I feel very, very privileged to be in this setup with these people. And yeah, I think it's a brilliant setting. I think the National Trust are ahead of their game to be involved with things like this. I think it's fantastic.
Wait until darkness comes.
For me, I'm quite often paid to be creative for other people on other people's time, and so to have the freedom to explore what I want to do is, I mean, no one can even imagine how rare that is for me. So I have grabbed this opportunity with both hands. This exploration of getting back into painting and making things on a really tiny scale, that's where it's at for me. So I'm just so grateful for the opportunity.
And look at the people here, you know, getting people outdoors to come to a place that maybe you wouldn't see this many people at.
And I don't think it's all sort of really creative, collective. It's ordinary people that you might meet in a cafe in Bude.
And I don't know where else you would find that would fit the bill. So I think it's a perfect venue. It's in a really good place. It's a really interesting building. And actually just the shape of it all just lends itself really well.
This year has been a huge success. We've had a lot more people this year coming to it and coming back again. We're on our second night and we've seen the same faces that we saw last night and more.
Got an idea for the next one. I'm not going to give it away just yet.